Hi everyone. Bienvenue. Hola. Say hi. Say hi. She's so stush. Are you stush? So today I am going to be talking about when I worked at MOXIE'S and my experience working as a mocktail server and cocktail, the lounge cocktailer. So that's what I'm doing today. What is on your arm? What's that? Always got stuff on your arm, got sticky paws, little girl. Did you just go at the camera? Did you just do that? Did you do that camera? She's kind of tired. Running around, running around. So, I actually found my old name tag. This is what they look like. They're really high quality, super strong, like they will clip your skin out type of magnets. It says MOXIE'S Classic Grill. It's actually Classic Bar and Grill if you look it up. But it's really high quality because it just goes through your clothes. They give you a shirt. They give a shirt to everyone. It's just like this kind of demi-sleeved, low-cut, kind of like a square round opening. It kind of opens like, it's nice. I really liked it, and I'm kind of regretting that I threw it out. And I also have this cute M, this little pewter M. I think I have it somewhere. I'm kind of like, oh, where the fuck is it? I can't find it. But the cocktailers would have an M necklace. I actually threw out the original chain it came with because it was so long and I wanted mine to be short. I usually like my necklaces quite short. And then they also give this really cute cocktail. It's only when you work in the lounge. It's like this leatherette apron. It's not an apron. It clips. It kind of holds all the pens and paper pad and your phone, whatever, change. It's got this little zip in different kinds of compartments, and it's like small, kind of rectangular, and it hangs off on the hip. It's really, really cute, and I loved it. They were out when I first joined, but then they got more in, so then I got one later on. I was so excited, and it was like my favorite thing ever. I loved having it. It was just like perfect for everything. I should have kept it just because it would have helped me a lot with my other serving jobs and whatever. But anyway, so the differences between the actual floor servers that work in the dining area and the lounge cocktailers are the lounge cocktailers have to wear a short skirt. It has to be mid-thigh or above. I wore like a really, really short ruched one because it was just super comfortable, and they have to wear knee-high boots. They can be they have to have a heel. Actually, no, they don't have to have a heel. You could have worn flats, but because I am who I am and I like wearing heels, I died. There were a lot of times where I cried because of the pain, especially doing double shifts, and I had the most uncomfortable high-heeled boots. And in Canada, it's not easy to find. I don't know, the shopping isn't so, you don't have as many options as you do in America, so it was very hard for me to find exactly the kind of boots I wanted, and I invested in these pair at Spring. I think I paid like $100 for them, Canadian, and I liked the material because they were kind of like fabricy, they're textile and like quilted. They were gorgeous, but they were so uncomfortable. They were killer. They were comfortable for the first few hours, but after 12 hours or more, anything can get uncomfortable. Your feet will hurt even if you're wearing sandals because you're just on your feet. And I think I abused my feet at that time. I even had gel inserts. I tried memory foam inserts. I had everything. It would get to the point where as soon as I would get home and I took off my boots, they would crack. Actually, no, I would take off my boots after work, at my work, and then I'd put on a pair of Uggs or something. They would like crack, and then they'd be throbbing at night. I'd need Epsom salts, soaks, which are so important. I cannot stress you servers enough to always do some sort of foot soak after work. They help immensely Like, they really help a lot. You don't think they do. Sometimes, even before, I was like, oh, it's not going to do much, it's only going to be temporary, but they actually have a lasting effect, and they really soothe your feet. So those are very important. And also invest in a pair of boots that are comfortable. I think my biggest regret is they were stilettos. Like, I should have gotten a boot with a little more solid base and a lower heel, but I just couldn't find anything I liked at that time. But anyways, yeah, it is quite cute working in that place. Also, your hair has to be down. I don't know if that's changed over the years, but when I worked there, the cocktail servers had to have the hair down because it was just, they wanted you to look more sexy. But it's still a very professional environment. So when I first learned that I could actually wear this mane down and wild and free, I was like, oh my god, this place is meant for me. Most of the places I ever worked at, I had to have my hair back, except when you work in Vegas, obviously they want your hair down as well, because it's just, obviously, it's just more aesthetically pleasing, more laid back. But yeah, it was one of the few restaurants that actually allowed that. I really enjoyed working there, and I say that it's probably still to this day the most detail-oriented companies to work for when it comes to your customer service. MOXIE'S, having a base at MOXIE'S has prepared me for every other serving job that I've ever had. The standards are very high in terms of service. You get like a huge binder this thick to study all the dishes, like the entire menu. You are not allowed to work on the floor until you pass these MOXIE'S exams. You have to pass the exams. It's like a whole test on customer service and food and this and that. And first I started out as a server, and then I was a cocktailer not long after. But they usually hire, I know this is kind of cliche, but they will hire more attractive and more outgoing people for the cocktailing, the lounge area, because the lounge area is 19 and over. You have to be old enough to drink. In Canada, the drinking age is 19. And also, it's just more of a fun atmosphere, especially where businessmen go to have the lunch and have drinks and things like that. And while the dining area is a family atmosphere, so it's kind of like two separate places in one venue. And it's described as business casual or cosmopolitan something semi-casual. It's nice. It's like I've always loved MOXIE'S. I used to go there a lot, even when I was working there. Of course, I ate there every day, and it was generally a really good place to work in, and I loved pretty much everyone that I worked with. I never had an issue. Everyone was so lovely there. I'm still to this day Facebook friends with a lot of my old co-workers, and like the chefs, the hostesses, the servers, the other cocktail waitresses that I became close to. A lot of us are still in touch. I really highly recommend MOXIE'S. I worked specifically at the Yonge and Sheppard location in Toronto, well, technically North York, and I enjoyed it. I took a bus, and then what did I do? I took a bus and then the train and then a bus or something to get to the station, to get to the actual location. I used to work every day. I was full-time server. I did double shifts. I worked weekends. There's a time where I was working 7 days a week and doing like a couple of double shifts every week. Double shifts are when you work basically a double shift. You're there from like 11 a.m. to like 1 a.m., sometimes 2 a.m. if we close really late, on different occasions and things like that. It was a very high pressured environment, very high volume, especially at lunchtime, because all the business people start coming in, the corporate people, especially because we were located in a corporate office, like a business building. So, and there was like a little underground mall there as well. So we had a prime location, and I really liked it because of where it was, and the clientele were really nice. The tips were not bad. Obviously with any kind of serving job, you're going to get bad days, you're going to get good days, but a bad day at MOXIE'S was probably around $60, which isn't bad. And a good day, I could make a couple $100 tip. But the average was probably around between 1 and 200 if I did, especially if I work nights, because you get more people at night time, depending on the day. Anyway, I am doing this video because I wanted to kind of share my experiences there and how it's improved me as a server overall, and I highly recommend it to anyone seeking to go into the service industry, especially if you want to get a job at a very high-end place or even fine dining. MOXIE'S will prep you quite well because a lot of the procedures are kind of like, I learned how to basically serve wine in a fine dining manner, like with the napkin over my arm, not making a sound, opening the corks, holding the bottle by the base, twisting the bottle when you pour. They're very anal when it comes to detail like that, so it's just an excellent place to really either brush up and hone your skills in the hospitality industry, or if you're completely new, it's actually good. It will mold you into a really good server. Throughout the years of serving and cocktailing, even in Vegas, MOXIE'S, the level of customer service was incomparable. I still have not worked in a place where they have that type of training and where the competency level is that great. Like, it's really great. It really made me into a good server. I always had compliments on how amazing my service was, and it was due to MOXIE'S. Before MOXIE'S, I was just a bit of a headless chicken running around. Even though I grew up in a restaurant industry, my family does own a restaurant in Canada. We were just more of a takeout restaurant, and then we had seating. Well, we had some seating, but it was more of a takeout restaurant. Now it's more of a sitting restaurant, and both. But it wasn't like that, especially with Chinese restaurants, Asian restaurants. The service isn't going to be like all that if you're not like from Asia. If you go to the restaurants in Asia, it's so different. But Asian people that open restaurants and establishments overseas, like in Western countries, they don't know much about customer service because it's just like, oh, let's make money, let's open a restaurant. They kind of starting from scratch, so that wasn't really the best place for me to learn the best like high-end customer service. Obviously, I know how to be polite and do transactions and serve food, but when you work for a place like MOXIE'S, where it's a chain establishment and they pride themselves on the customer service, it's a whole new ball game, and it will really improve you. So what I found most amazing about the whole place was that they go by this whole theory, this philosophy, which I think all restaurants should have, is everyone needs to help each other out. You don't just look after your section, but you look after other people's as well when you can. So for example, if I'm walking through the rest of the restaurant in the dining area and I see empty plates, or I see water that needs to be filled and I have the time, I will do it, because when everyone helps out each other, it helps the restaurant operate smoother. Especially when the restaurant is backed up and people are suffering and they're struggling with their own tables, it comes back to you too. Everyone will help out each other. There were even servers that would go into the lounge and help me out when I was backed up. And if everyone helps out each other, sometimes I would go into the kitchen and I'd prep food and garnish because it was that crazy sometimes. Or I would go into the bar and bartend half the time and make drinks and help the bartender out. Like, in that atmosphere, I learned how to take on every role. And when you are training, they make you follow everyone. They make you follow the manager, or they'll make you stay in the kitchen for a day and follow server and follow bartender. Like, you learn about everyone else's job, and then there are times where you definitely have to take on everyone else's job, and you learn how to take on multifaceted roles. It's really, really eye-opening. It's very informative, and you learn a lot. And when everyone works together, you feel like you accomplish a lot. And it was actually really, really lovely to be in a place like that, because a lot of places you serve in, sometimes it's like they look after their own section, and then if you ask someone a favor, it's like, oh, they're doing you a favor, and like, you know, you owe them. And people don't seem to understand, if you help each other out when you can, it will help the entire experience for everyone out better. People will not be so stressed out, and the restaurant will just run smoother. Everyone's happier, the customers are happier when everyone's helping each other out. I would run food to tables that were not mine. It doesn't matter. It's whenever I can do something, you do something. There's always something to do, right? That's something that they teach you. You should never have your hands empty, because you can always be serving, or you can always be doing something. You can always be taking things back, and you should never stay stagnant. There's never a time where you should just be standing around. I think it's a great place to start off in, or to improve your skills in. And once you're done there, you'll be prepared to basically interview and work anywhere. It's so fast paced. I remember there's a time where I almost broke down in tears. It was like Valentine's Day, and we were bloody slammed. We were short staffed, people didn't show up, so I had to take on a lot more than my own section. And if you get difficult customers, it can really push you to the edge. But again, if you can work in that place, you can bloody work anywhere. You get a bit of everything there. It's fun. It's not so high-end and stuffy where you can't have fun, and where it's totally all serious all the time. It's like a little more laid back, but then when it comes to customer service, and when it comes to the way it's run like a fresh, clean, well-oiled engine. Some of us used to like, especially when we were drinking, some of us used to just have so much fun just mocking the whole process, because it was so over the top, but that's what makes them so wonderful at the same time. I used to have this co-worker named Zai, and he was hilarious, and we used to always just be bantering and just joking back and forth every time we passed each other. But you get floor managers, then you get the main manager, and everyone's got their headpieces in. So whenever there was a problem, the customer would be like almost dying, as if something horrible happened. Like, excuse me, my steak, it's medium, and I asked for medium rare, guard. And then the floor manager would go on his knees and be like, okay, 1 second, red alert, okay. And then he'd be like contacting the other managers, and everyone would be coming over, and it's like a big bloody deal. It's like an emergency. It's like code red, and everyone starts freaking out. And then they contact the waitress or the waiter, and they're like, okay, this customer asked for blah, 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 and then you have to like fix it, and the customer's always right. I had an issue with that sometimes, because there are actual full-time career restaurant con artists who dine and dash for like a living. It's like, that's what they do. This is how they get free meals. They either eat like 85-90% of the steak and then complain about it, and you know what? MOXIE'S will give you a new steak. And I used to have an issue with that. I'm like, if they didn't like it, they should have just cut it open and had a bite and then sent it back. But these people are clearly scamming, and they'll eat almost the entire steak and then complain. But anyways, I had an issue, and I used to talk to the boss about this, and he goes, you know what, the majority of our customers are loyal, and this is why they come back, and we make our money on volume. And I'm like, okay. But I learned, it is true, you overall want to have a good experience at the place. Even if there's a few con artists in between, people cannot complain that MOXIE'S doesn't do anything, or they don't, because I've comped before a lot. They comp your bill a lot, even if you have to wait a bit. They'll give you free drinks, they'll give you free appetizer. They'll do a lot. They'll go above and beyond for the customer. And this is probably why I'm like that just generally as a server, because when you get trained in that environment, it becomes part of your core values as a server. So now wherever I work, I'm always going above and beyond for people, because I like that when I go out somewhere, and I appreciate that kind of service when I eat somewhere. And also, serving makes you less of a douchebag to other people, because it really teaches you patience, and it really shows you just how hard it is to be in that kind of industry, and how tolerant you have to be. And it also teaches you how ugly people can be. And so it kind of grounds you and makes you a little more down to earth and opens your eyes a bit. I feel like, you know, the best customers are usually the ones who've served themselves, because they really understand what it's like. But I'm one of those odd people that I actually really enjoyed serving. I actually miss it sometimes. I miss the fast-paced environment. I love food, and just being in that kind of headspace during work is just great. I know not every establishment's the same, but my experience at MOXIE'S has always been really, really lovely. It was more like a family. One time my phone was stolen from the back. I was so upset. I was so upset, close to quitting, because I felt like I couldn't trust anyone. And apparently it was one of the old employees who had a kleptomaniac problem, and everyone kind of knew who it was, and she had come for a visit. She didn't work there at the time, but she went in the back, and my phone was stolen the time she was there. MOXIE'S, actually, all my co-workers who wanted to pitched in. They all donated a little bit to help me buy a new phone, and that was like the kindest thing that I have ever had people who weren't like my immediate friends or family do for me. And that was amazing, and it just shows you the kind of camaraderie and bonding and friendship that kind of went on there. But yeah, I do highly recommend it. My experience is life-changing, because like I said, it is probably the reason why I was so successful in my other service jobs, and why I always kept my service jobs and never got fired from any of them, because I go above and beyond, and I take my job very seriously. Because you have to understand, as a server, you're not just a server, you are a reflection of the company. You are walking advertisement or advertisement for the establishment, for the venue. You are the face of the company, and what people are going to, the experience of the customers, what they're going to remember when they leave. And you know, you have to give them a good experience so they come back. So anyways, that's all I want to share with you today. And for those of you who are thinking of getting into serving and who are thinking of MOXIE'S, go for it. I absolutely loved it, and I'm not going to say it's a piece of cake and very easy. There are a lot of challenging moments, and you face a lot of challenges and tough times when you serve, but overall it's a very good dose of, I think it's great for your character. I think it's good for your skills overall. I think it just makes me a better person. Just when it comes to my work ethic generally, not even just serving, but overall. I hope you all have a lovely rest of the Sunday. Maybe I'll see you later, and take care, and thank you again for watching. Bye bye.